like cried, and it wasn't just like one little tear. It wasn't one little tear. I actually cried. Multiple tears were shed. I read 123 books in 2022. Here are my favorites. I will not be going in any particular order until I get to my top 6 books. So make sure that you stay to the end so that you can see that. First book is Wash Day Diaries by Jamila Rouser. This is about 4 black women and their lives, their friendships, and their gorgeous hair across one day, which is a wash day. My favorite things about this book is the gorgeous illustrations. I could just stare at those illustrations all day. I loved the characters. I was very interested in their stories. And this was a lighthearted story while still having depth to the characters and the situation. The only thing that I didn't like about this book was that it was too short. I wanted it to get more into their lives a little bit, like make it just a little bit longer so that we could get more backstory on some things, get more explanation of some things, and also because I wasn't ready for it to end. Next book is Upon a Burning Throne by Ashok K. Banker. This is an Indian-inspired epic fantasy with war and action, demigods, royalty, and court politics. With this series, when I read this book, I immediately went and got the second book, and then I immediately went and got the third book. I binge read the series. I am not a series reader. I will read the first book in a series and then just never pick up the second book. So the fact that I binged this whole series is a great sign. This was action-packed. It had an amazing villain. I don't think I've ever read a villain that I was so interested in, so that was definitely one of my favorite aspects of this book. But I will say the second book and the third book were not as good as the first book, and I do think that the third book was a little rushed. But overall, really enjoyed it. The first book is definitely one of my top reads of 2022. Ghost Summer by Tananarive Due. Tananarive Due is my favorite author of all time, so it only makes sense that one of her books made it on this list. This is a collection of short horror stories with a variety of elements such as zombies, possessions. I liked everything about this book. You know, with any short story collection, there are going to be some hits and some, can't really say misses with Tananarive Due because she just can't miss, but some less hits. But I enjoyed all of them. My favorite story was definitely Danger Word, which was the zombie story. So if you read that story, let me know. You'll Always Be My Baby by Lady Nisha. This is an urban fiction novel about this woman who just got out of this relationship with this like really trash dude. And then she meets this new guy who is a nice guy. But little does she know that that nice guy has a mama and 2 sisters who do everything they can to drive away every woman that he has ever been involved with. This is the funniest book I have ever read in my life. I cracked up at least every few pages. I did not stop laughing. There were several lovable characters. There was also lots and lots of drama. I don't usually read a lot of books with a lot of drama, but the drama was immaculate and I was here for it, and it was hilarious and I just loved it. But I will say that in my opinion, he was not worth going through all that trouble with his mama and his sisters. He was not worth it. Fake It Till You Bake It by Jamie Wesley. This is a black romance about a cupcake baking football player and a disgraced reality star fake dating in order to save his bakery. This was so cute. I loved the characters. It had so many adorable scenes. I really love fluffy romances, cutesy romances. That's what I read romance for. All the cute dates and the adorableness. So this was perfect. Next we have The Heart Principle by Helen Huang. This is the third book in the Kiss Quotient series. This is about a woman who is in a long-term relationship with her man, and then he suggests that they should have an open relationship. So she like, okay, bet. I'm finna show you and I'm finna have all the one night stands and you gonna regret this. But while having these one night stands and continuously failing to have them, she winds up falling for the guy that she keeps trying to sleep with. Also, tragedy strikes her family and a lot of pressure is put on her, and we have to see if these two people's budding connection can survive. Honestly, I did not think that I would love one of the books in the series more than I loved the first one, but I did. I loved this one even more. This was an emotional but beautiful read. I'm not usually one who reads many like emotional romances. Like I said earlier, I enjoyed the fluffy and cutesy stuff, but the couple felt so real. The situations felt so real. The characters had a lot of depth. The story had depth, and I just really enjoyed this book, and I'm so shocked that I loved it even more than the Kiss Quotient, but I did. Next is Darknesses by Lachelle Seville. If you have seen my Black Booktuber tag, then you know that I loved this book. This is a Black sapphic gothic romance that is a retelling of Dracula. I loved the writing, I loved the atmosphere, I loved the characters, and this book was so quotable. Like, I just highlighted so many quotes because the writing was so gorgeous. Like I said, The Dating Playbook by Farrah Roshan. This is about an ex-NFL player who recently got injured, and so he is trying to train to get back into the NFL. And so he meets this trainer that he really enjoys, pays her to train him, and then they wind up having to fake date. Fake dating is my absolute favorite trope. I loved both of our main characters. I thought they had great chemistry. I loved them individually as well as a couple. There were so many cute moments, and this also had learning disability representation, which I don't see much, and I was very, very happy to see. Babel by R.F. Kuang. I always describe this as dark academia mixed with a little bit of magic, mixed with rebelling against colonialism. The writing was gorgeous. I always love when authors of color write dark academia. I definitely enjoyed the translation talk. This is about translators at Oxford, and so I really enjoyed like their courses in translation. I never thought that would be something that I was just like interested in, but I really was. For a lot of people, I have heard that part bored them. It did not bore me at all. It was like one of my favorite parts of the book. This is another book where I highlighted several quotes. The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport. This is a fantasy and sci-fi mix about a woman who lives in a very, very racist society, and then she finds out that her father, when he died, he was actually murdered. And so she infiltrates where he worked, which was the military, to find out who killed him and to get revenge. I love revenge-seeking main characters. There was so much action. The first scene started out with our main character beating people up, so I love it. If you're enjoying this video so far, go ahead and like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so that you can keep up with me and see when I post new videos. Jackal by Aaron E. Adams. This is about a woman named Liz who lived in a town where every year a black girl goes missing. One year, she was almost the black girl that went missing, but she got lucky. Fast forward years later, she has moved out of that town, but she must come back because her best friend is getting married and she must attend the wedding. But at that wedding, her best friend's daughter goes missing, and Liz has to find her. But there's something in the woods that's preying on black girls, and it's been waiting for the one who got away. I loved the character development in this novel. Like, the characters were not likable. They definitely were not supposed to be likable, but they were well developed. You understood motivations, you understood exactly who they were, even if you couldn't stand them. I thought that the pacing of this novel was perfect, and there were also point of view chapters of the other black girls who were taken. They were heartbreaking, but also incredibly creepy. I will warn y'all that the ending could be unsatisfying for some. I felt like it went well with the story. It's definitely not what you would expect. Tired of failing. Oh, I just wasn't gonna say the name of the book, I guess. What a Match by Mimi Grace. Tired of failing at dating, Gwen decides to hire a matchmaker, but when her brother's best friend, who unbeknownst to her has been in love with her for a while, when he needs a place to live, he winds up temporarily moving into her apartment. Will she then realize that she does not need a matchmaker at all? You can see by the cover that this book is set in fall, and I absolutely loved it. There were all the fall vibes. There were fall activities. I was very invested in who was going to win that giant pumpkin growing contest. There were lovable side characters. And this was just really, really cute. Cute dates, all that. Fluffy, sweet. I love it. In the House of Transcendence by Amanda Ross. This is a Southern Gothic witchy fantasy novel set in Savannah, Georgia. It is about Zora, a necromancer whose ability to talk to the dead has always scared her, till she meets a fellow witch named Birdie who introduces her to the world of black queer witches. But in exchange for Birdie helping her, Zora must help out Birdie by solving the mystery of Birdie's fiance's murder. I love the found family aspect. I loved the characters. The witches have a magical burlesque club. All of their acts include magic, and that was just so much fun to read. Salaam with Love by Sarah Sharif Beg. This is a young adult contemporary novel about our main character, Dua, during Ramadan, where she becomes more connected to her faith and her family, as well as finding first love. We know that there is not much positive representation of the Muslim faith in the media, so I always get so excited when I see positive representation for Muslims, and I just loved it. The characters were lovable, and I loved the main character's growth throughout the story, and I had so much fun going on this journey with her. Life with Nia by Kayla. This is a story about a black woman with obsessive compulsive disorder navigating love, her career, and self-acceptance. I love seeing neurodivergent representation. I loved Nia as a character, and I felt like the story was really written with emotion, and it felt very, very real. The only thing that I didn't like is that I could not connect to the romance. In this book, there is like a love triangle, but it's very, very clear who's going to win the love triangle. But one part of the love triangle was a second chance romance, and I felt like that man did not deserve a second chance, so I could not connect to the romance. The Friendship Contract by Mia Heintzelman. This is a two friends with benefits, two lovers romance. When Allegra finds an engagement ring in her boyfriend's gym bag, she gets so excited until she finds out that ring was not for her. So they break up, and who is there to console her? Her best friend / law firm partner, Damon. But when they wind up sharing a kiss that same night, they decide to sign a contract to be friends with benefits, but of course they're going to fall in love. This is a very quick read. I sped through this. I loved the characters. The characters had such great chemistry, and there were so many cute scenes. Definitely enjoyed it. Now it's time to get into my top 6 books of 2022. Originally, I had a top 5, but then in December, I read a book that was so good. I was like, girl, I'm adding this to the list. So let's get into it. Number 6, House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. This is a historical gothic horror about a woman who is in a very, very desperate position when she looks in the paper and sees an ad that says blood maid wanted. And what a blood maid is a person who lets someone drain their blood for other people to drink it. And when you become a blood maid, you're supposed to get this fabulous lifestyle. So of course she takes the offer. However, are things as fabulous as they seem? This had gorgeous writing, a gorgeous atmosphere. I love gothic books. The atmosphere was definitely there. It was suspenseful, and it had an action-packed ending. I didn't want it to end. I really did not want this book to end. When it ended, I was, satisfied with the way that it ended, but I was like, I want more. Give me more. My 5th book, which this is the book that I read in December where I just had to add it to the list, and this is Bookmarked by Bella J. So there's this married couple that is getting a divorce. They're ending on good terms, but the divorce is almost final. And so the husband says to the wife, I'm going to take you on a divorce moon. and we are going to enjoy our last few days as a married couple. This is my favorite romance that I have ever read. It was so emotional and beautiful and cute. It had everything. Like, how is it both like fluffy and cute but also emotional and made me cry? I don't cry. I cried, and it wasn't just like one little tear. It wasn't one little tear. I actually cried. Multiple tears were shed. I love the characters so much. Their chemistry was just undeniable. I felt like these were real people. These were not book characters to me. These were real people in a real relationship. It was just gorgeous. I loved the way that this book ended. That is an unpopular opinion because this book is actually, by the author, is not labeled a romance. It's labeled a women's fiction novel because it does not have your typical happily ever after. However, I thought that the way that it ended was absolutely perfect for the story. Deep in Providence by Riz M. Nielsen. This is a young adult fantasy novel about 4 girls who are friends, and then one of the friends dies in a car accident. And so the 3 other girls turn to magic to try to bring their friend back. This book was everything. It's beautiful. It's witchy. It's emotional. Lovable characters making potentially very bad decisions. It has a full cast of characters of color. It has queer representation. It is creepy at times. It has ghosts roaming around. It has anxiety representation. Like this book just gives everything that you could possibly want in a book. It gives it to you. Love this book. The Romantic Agenda by Claire Kahn. Joy is in love with her best friend Malcolm, but she has never had the heart to tell him. So when he announces that he has met the love of his life, and it's not her, she is of course very hurt. He then asks her to come on a trip with him and the love of his life named Summer so that they can get to know each other. Joy decides to take that trip as an opportunity to show him that she is the one for him. But when she gets there, she meets Summer's best friend, Fox. The question is, has she been looking for love with the wrong person? This has a sexual representation, fake dating, the grumpy sunshine trope. The main character is so lovable. I loved her so much. And the love interest is lovable. This is another one of my favorite romances of all time. Bad Fat Black Girl, Notes from a Trapped Feminist by Cecily Bowen. This is a non-fiction collection of essays / memoir that centers the needs and experiences of hood black women. This was so relatable. I had so much fun with this book, but it of course also had, the serious parts, but it was also fun. A good mixture of both. And last but certainly not least, because this is my #1 book of the year, and it is in my top 3 favorite books of all time that I have ever read, and that is Cirque Berserk by Jessica Guess. At a carnival in the summer of 1989, a group of teenagers killed a dozen people and then vanished. 30 years later, a group of very bored teenagers who are on their senior trip decide that it's a good idea to go to the abandoned carnival where that happened. But will they make it out alive? This was literally the book of my dreams. I love slasher books, and so a slasher with a black main character was just everything. This does not have your typical horror tropes, and this was... It's so weird to say that this was fun, but it was, because slashers are just kind of fun, and it's at a carnival. The only thing that I would change about this book is that I wish that, the slasher kills had been more carnival-y. Like, if you're at a carnival, I feel like the kills should be carnival related, and that didn't happen much. But this is still one of the top 3 books of all time for me. I loved it to death, and it was just everything. It was everything. So what was your favorite book of 2022? Let me know in the comments down below. Or you could just leave me a little red heart down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, check out my other video where I review all of my 2022 most anticipated releases and let y'all know if they were worth my time or not. some of the books that were on this video were on that video as well. And I will see you there. Bye.